Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Korean Starleague. I am your host, Nathanias, and we have a PvZ. We're looking at one of the semi-finals for week 21. One of the semis for week 21. In the top left, playing on an account that could only be described as, I don't know who this man is, it's Dongregu. His opponent spawning in the bottom right as the red Protoss player, one of the only GSL Codes Protoss players that can say they lost a ranked ladder game against Nathanias on the Korean server. He is Nightmare. I know, it's a cheap point to go for. It really is. Did I have to bring that up? Yes, of course. Of course. Blame the writers if you have a problem, okay? I'm just doing the best I can with the script. So the probe's going to come up into the base, and it wasn't that fast probe that terrifies the Zerg. It was a, I'm not going to take it all that kind of hardcore probe, and for that reason, DRG is able to do something that almost no Zerg in the history of this game can do, which is actually take their natural, instead of having to build it as some abomination third base here, there, or, I mean, if you take this as your natural, you're one of those people that just, you probably grew up and you took like the sour Warheads candy and you just tried to dump the whole bag into your mouth at once to act cool in front of people. But you weren't really cool. People were just kind of like vicariously suffering through you, you know, like you didn't tell anybody about that ever again after it happened, because of course it's nothing to brag about, but it did happen. Nightmare can't really do anything until the cybernetics core is done. That's just how Protoss works, so we'll see that Stargate most likely in a couple of seconds. Bonus points if he goes for a Robo Twilight opener. There is the Adept. And DRG had a really good match in the bracket stage against Future. It was probably the marquee matchup of the bracket stage, and I don't just say that because it's the only bracket stage game I commentated this week. That's only partially the motivation. Like I said, full honesty here. But it was a great match. And there was definitely a moment where DRG could have lost. So, Nightmare with the Stargate halfway done. This is just the way things go. You build oracles, you try to deny third bases, and you try to kill drones. Meanwhile, the Adepts can be used to secure that third. We saw Estrella last week making some big plays against, I think it was Dark. He was trying really hard to get that third wrapped up early. But he was going for 3, 4 oracles. He was doing the old 4-oracle build. So I don't know how many oracles Nightmare likes to build. And if I could be so bold, I'll reveal to you, I don't think we've cast Nightmare in the KSL yet. I don't think I have. I know he's participated in a few matchups. Usually I let chat vote which series we'll do, and I just kind of give matchups like, oh, PvZ, TVT sort of thing. And obviously we don't really go into the mirrors too much for that reason. I try to do a few occasionally to keep ourselves honest. There can be great games in mirrors. That's very true. Just not most of the time. So here we are. Second Oracle is about to finish up. So here's where we diverge for most players. Do we get a third Oracle? Do we get something else? Do we just never touch the Stargate again? Many Protoss players will go for option C. You just don't ever use the Stargate again. You just get 2. That's it. He is gonna opt for the third Oracle, and that's still within the realm of sanity. There's nothing crazy about that. If he gets a 4th Oracle, I don't know, I'll get a White Claw out or something. Twilight Council in the main base. So that's what we expect, that follow-up. Typically, there's a couple, I mean, there are a couple of ways that you can do it, right? You can go for Blink with the Oracles. A lot of people try to use the Oracles to clean up Lings, while the Stalkers poke. He has not been able to kill anything with the Oracles yet. But this is where it gets kind of tricky. DRG doesn't always do the standard schmandered boring stuff. In this game, he's just gone straight for that muscular augment, which means he wants to attack with Hydralisks soon. If you're a Zerg player and you're opening with Hydras, If you're not going to attack, you want range. Why? Because Hydras move fast on creeps, so you just want to keep your opponent away from harassing you. If you're a Zerg player and you open up with Hydra speed, it's because you want to attack, because the Hydra speed upgrade mostly affects Hydralisk speed off creep. So, yeah. He's going to probably be hitting. This is a very wide open third base. It's one of the hardest things about playing on Dragon Scales. You do have a very big, wide open arc for your opponent to hit, and he still has some vision here, so he knows there's no big wall getting set up. There's nothing crazy on the defensive side. It's just a transition into Blink Stalkers, but he's going to be running into a wall of Hydralisks pretty soon. This is kind of the energy that I think we're about to get. So he's going from 3.1 plus 9.4. That upgrade is about to finish, and we're going to see these fast boys. There you go. Now they're slipping and sliding. The whole world is a slip and slide when you're an upgraded Hydralisk. 4.1. Look at that. He's cruising. I can say that about Zerg. It's me. So, Shield Battery Overcharge is going to get activated. There is a force field to try to push the Hydras off. And I think for DRG, he's not waiting it out entirely, but I think he recognizes as long as he has Lings in front, he should be okay. The Oracles are trying to come up and get a piece of the action. Another Shield Battery does finish up, and it's a very committed sort of attack. This is something that you can transition out of because you have Lurkers on the table, but there's no drones on the third. You're going to call that a third base? No. I mean, now there's some drones. Now it's turning into a third base, but it's kind of like Imperfect Cell. You got to eat a couple androids before you can be hot, I guess. So Grooved Spines is almost done, and Hydras as an opening are great, just because whether, you know, succeeds or fails, if you get somewhere in the middle, you want to go Lurkers eventually anyway versus Protoss. So I love DRG's build. It's like he has the option for an easy win with the fast Hydra push as a response to the Stargate opening, but because Nightmare defended really well, and it did get a little tense, you know, I think he was okay. If the Oracles hadn't come back, I think there's a world where DRG actually does go to push all the way in. So here's what's interesting. Resonating Glaives is about to finish, but this is a Hydra Lurker Ling army. You don't want to use Adepts against this. I guess he just thinks Zealots would be even worse. And maybe that's true. Oh, Lurkers is going to get 2 of them. And there's one more important thing I should mention. This is Lair Lurk. These are Lair Lurkers. There is no range upgrade for the Lurkers. There is no burrow upgrade. There's some stasis traps that have frozen the Lings. But those are also still giving vision, actually, for the Lurkers to keep shooting. So he's going to blink forward on top of them. All of the Lurkers will get destroyed, but there's so many Hydras and more. I mean, more were finishing right there, too. So he's got all the Lurkers outside the third base. Pylons are dropping like flies. Once the probe line gets assaulted, that's when we really get worried. He's going to blink in towards that north side. Oh, force fields himself in. 5 Stalkers straight into the mulch. There's the battery overcharge coming back one more time. And here's the other thing we need to keep in mind, too. That Oracle needs to come back and get another Revelation tag. There's no Overseer. I guess there's no Overseer. The Observer should be safe. But maybe he's just relying on getting the surround. Oh, actually, Stasis is some Lings in the back. But the base. The base, Nathan. The base is under attack. It's under siege. It doesn't matter if the army can avoid the Lurkers. The base, yeah, I mean, he's just wailing away at it. And now you've got a 2-base Protoss versus a, do you guys really want to call this a third base Protoss? And it's just been a down and dirty. I mean, if I was Pig, he'd say it like, it's just a down and dirty game. You can really feel DRG just dragging Nightmare down into the mud with him. And he just says, I don't care if I get entombed and fossilized in this tar, as long as you're here with me. There you go. That's my one Pig impression of the month. Sorry, it just became August again, so he texted me that I could do that. Ooh, look at this! Trying to do. Okay, never mind. Every time I think someone's gonna do cool soccer micro on Lurkers, everything dies. So I should just stop myself. I should stop myself before I start. That does not, that goes nowhere fast. These stalkers do blink up the cliff trying to save themselves. But even without the upgrades, it's just so much. It's so much now. And all he's done is lost a huge amount of economy. So he can buy some time, he can try to hold this down. I think if DRG wants to push up a ramp, he should probably get Overseers? Maybe Overseers? I don't know why I just drew a blank trying to say I wanted to say Overlord, but then I realized obviously that wouldn't make sense. GG, well played. There's no overly hyped GG moment for that game, okay? He was pretty dead after the third fell, but I give him credit for hanging tough. Let's go to game 2. Nightmare's pretty fun to watch, huh? Not too shabby. I think that map is really bad for PvZ, so let's see if this one helps things out a little bit. Let's see if things get a little easier for our boy over here. Although I like this guy too, because he's a psychopath. Loved DRG's build. Actually really, really loved DRG's build. How rare is it that we have a Zerg who will build lurkers before Hive? I think we can all agree that while we may see a lot of lurkers in professional PvZ, it is usually a little bit later in the game. Typically the Zerg takes some punches, they eat the map, and then it's Hydra, Ling, Bane, lurkers, +2 Banes flying into mineral lines. The Protoss is on like 6 bases trying to defend 7 different attacks at once. There's Nidus Worms, Corruptors are peeing on stuff. Not today. We just got 2 dudes who are getting into some intense action-packed matches. And by that I mean Nightmare is trying to macro. DRG is pulling him down into the mud like Pig said earlier. So he wants to get both of them filthy. And it is a pool first, so whether Nightmare tried to do any kind of pylon block or anything else, he just says, nah, I'm not even going to worry about it. My Lings could deal with it if I needed it, but I'm also going to force you to wall off as fast as possible. So he has a drone headed over. Is he going to proxy hatch him? Is that what's happening? Is that the play? Yes, it is. And he's going to use it on the wall. Cybernetics Core starts up. Oh my goodness. I have absolutely no idea what's going to happen here. This is... Yeah, you know. The Zealot finishes, and he's kind of just stuck. But one Zealot can't kill the hatchery, so if he wanted to stop it, he'd have to send another on the outside, which he also can't do because there's Zerglings here. So... I feel like DRG just set up a saw trap, and Nightmare did that thing that all the characters do, where they like wake up and activate the trap without realizing it, because that's just how. I mean, the plot has to move forward, so. Yeah, see that poor second Zealot? He can't help. Oh, what? Whoa! Everything about a StarCraft I thought I knew just changed. Okay, well, there's an Adept out now, too. The Zealots do get surrounded, though. And there's a shield battery. So... in my mind, the hatchery serves the purpose of preventing the wall from being rebuilt because of creep. But... Yeah, I was going to say, but also I have no idea. I have no idea what exactly the game plan there was. Nightmare defends. His Nexus is on the way. DRG only just finished his natural, and he's got about half the workers. About half the workers of his opponent. So, Nightmare comfortably at 20 probes. DRG, he's about to get over 12. Well, he took a gas, so he went down to 11 for a second. Very low drone count. He was hoping to kill him there, and Nightmare, he just handled it. I don't know how the 2 Zealots were able to swing at that hatch for a second. I guess it's because the corner doesn't actually count as a filled space on town halls. You may not realize that, but that actually does affect every model. Technically, every building in StarCraft, to the best of my knowledge, almost all of them are truly square or rectangular, but the main bases, the corners are all pathable. So you can walk through the corner of a Nexus or a command center or anything. I guess for the Nexus it's maybe slightly more confusing because it's not round by design, but it is round in its function. Yeah, I don't know. I got nothing else to add there. That was a huge attack that he tried to bring, and he's up 1-0 in the series. So let's not pretend like there was no reason for him to feel like he could go for that. But now we're in that calm lull period. Most of the time, the caster has to fill the first few minutes of the game, but when the first few minutes of the game are that crazy, then it's like, yeah, it's that 5 minute to 7 minute mark, Nate. Nothing's gonna happen because he had 11. He had 11 drones. He's gonna need some time to get it going there. Overlord wants to come in for the scout. What will he see? Not too much. This Zealot sees a third base. Goes out, gives his life in the pursuit of knowledge. Can you imagine just getting slowly pecked to death? Like the back of your ankles? Surprised he could still run. So it's Resonating Glaives and Warp Prism. Now, of course, as a Zerg, you don't get to see what those are when you show up with your units. So he's not 100% sure what's actually being made there. But I think the number of Adepts now might give it away. However, he's going in right before Glaives, and he's going in before Prism. So, yeah, he's got 2 Adepts now. And the Prism, where did we go? Where are we? There we are. We've got 3 Warp Gates. Yeah, I don't know. Waiting for Glaives might have been the move here, but I guess the third is... It's such a low economy game. My ability to judge is gone. So maybe, Nathan, maybe we don't. Maybe we don't pretend to know what's good or bad here, because it's kind of been a weird game. Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. We can pretend all the other games, though. This one's a little crazy. I mean, a Colossus is being made, so... I think that they launched the PTR to fix the Colossus range yesterday. It's not in the live game yet, though, to the best of my knowledge. Like, he pokes the queen, but doesn't really get anything done. Will those still shade? No. No, you knew he'd get surrounded if he went in. So what does Nightmare do? He just takes his third base, says, okay. This game's been weird enough. Now this map, I've gone straight to the hard part. This right here is what makes all the maps tough for Protoss. There's just this giant space. There's nowhere good to set up in between these bases. So it makes it very, very, very tough to hold. So that's one of the reasons why Nightmare is going to want to stay aggressive. It's kind of similar to Dragon Skill, like last game, when we talked about that third base being so hard to defend because it's just big and there's a huge open space in front of it. I mean, this map is the same in that regard. You have a very big open third. So Nightmare doesn't have to be as defensive because he went for a strategy that would allow him to attack a lot. So we respect him for that. We respect him for that. He's doing some Colossus drop. Right. Okay. That's tough. In case any... Yeah, I mean, if anybody watching didn't think that was bad for Nightmare, please let me know. Please let me know what your vitamins are so I can get on the same regimen. So Nightmare is going into Robo Bay. And he knows... DRG already knows this, because he obviously just killed a Prism with a Colossus in it. So he can go Disruptors, he can go Blink. But I think that this Spire makes so much sense. I think this Spire makes so much sense in this situation, because there's only so many things that Protoss can do from here. And it's very unlikely that on 3 bases on this map he would try to transition into late game Stargate composition. So going for this Ling Ravager stuff, I think it can be hard to make it work. Depends on the Biles land. He's going to crack open the force fields. Nova's gonna hit one of the Ravagers. Okay, if he's killing the Ravagers, then I start to like it a little bit more. But I don't think he can kill him with just this setup. I think it's a 1-2 punch, because you're waiting for those mutas. You're distracting him. He's saying, I'm going to feed you a lot of minerals here so that you can't attack me, and I have time to transition into what I need. I think he may have overextended, though. Nightmare definitely gets the better end of this trade. And if you're the Protoss, ask yourself, why is my opponent's army like 500 gas and 2,000 minerals? Why is there so few? Where is the gas? Where is the gas? Surprise. So, the mutas are all going to try and descend on the main from the inside. And Nightmare is actually caught a glimpse of this. He was able to get the scout earlier. So he does know that transition's coming. He had the Stargate on the way, but he added another one, and the batteries and the cannons. So the Mutalisks will show up, and I think I love Nightmare's spot. I think Nightmare's in a fantastic position. This could go to game 3, just because the mineral-based attack to try and buy time for the mutas didn't really do much. Somehow he was able to get that vision. I'm gonna assume that he either yeeted another prism, or maybe we had a hallucinated Phoenix go in there. There were quite a few sentries on the map after all. And there he goes, trying to fight Phoenix over a shield battery. That's a tough one. Just so efficient trading. Continues to just pummel away at the Zerg force. And now 63 probes to 69 drones. Nice. The charge lot transition starts up. So let's see. That upgrade only just began research. So I think, what do you do here? You just send out the Phoenix? It looks like DRG is going to keep making mutas, which says to me that he's either desperate or he's really, really hoping that after Nightmare kills all of his mutas, Nightmare will think that he's not going to make more mutas, and then when he stops making mutas, the Phoenix will be too many, and then he won't be able to stop the Roaches and the Lynx and the Ravagers, Lurkers, Hydras, whatever he would transition into. And it is a lot of Ling muta. Like, he's chasing a lot of this down. He's doing very well because there's no charge to deal with the Lings. Okay, I changed my mind. DRG bought himself a lot of time. I think he's in a great spot again. He was able to secure the Southeast expansion. He hasn't been attacked in a minute. The Phoenix are in good numbers, but they're not upgraded. There's no Anion Pulse Crystals. I think he could try to do a little trade, little smack. Maybe. By God, this man's Phoenix micro is unholy. Am I watching a Korean Protoss, or is this just Rotterdam? Ay, ay, ay. Okay, that was actually pretty sick. I thought to myself, oh yeah, DRG does this kind of thing, a little back and forth. Turns out Nightmare is actually the best Phoenix micro on planet Earth, and nobody knew. The dream. Don't tell Roddy I said that, though. I still want him to come to my Chuck E. Cheese birthday party. So he comes in with this big army. He's gonna lift up the Hydras and just kill him. I could have tried to fake hype the end of that one, but really all the hype goes to the Phoenix micro. Nightmare just put himself into a very dominant position at the end. There were like 7 Hydras versus 20 charge lots and 20 stalkers. Oh yeah, and the Phoenix was still there. So very well done. That means there is a game 3. So we have to find out who wins. We have to find out who wins this matchup. We have to find out what happens. How does it end? How does it end? Is there a cliffhanger ending? Is there, are we doing the Scooby-Doo ending? These are the questions that haunt me. Let's find out. Let's do it together. In the bottom left, we have the red Zerg player. He's DRG. His opponent in the top right, the blue Protoss player, he is Nightmare. 2 players with storied careers. DRG is a classic. He's a legend. He's somebody that if you've been around in the StarCraft space, you can't you can't avoid hearing or learning about him in some way. Whether it's his exploits as a rather aggressive Zerg player who was extremely successful in the early tournament days of StarCraft 2, or if even the only reason that you're aware of his existence is because you watched that insane Scarlet MLG match where she played Protoss and beat a Zerg player because she didn't want to play Mirror in that MLG. I was there. That was crazy. That was against DRG. Never forget her. Yeah. Nightmare, I think you'd mostly know him from Nathan bringing his name up constantly, and he did make GSL Code S a couple seasons. He's a good Protoss player for sure. We're seeing it here. Again, I don't have anything bad to say about him. This is the first week in the KSL that I've been able to commentate Nightmare's games, though, so I've mostly just been observing. And also, I'm casting too. Get it? Sorry. Yeah, I'm observing the game, but I'm also observing the players' choices. What we're seeing from Nightmare is that what he does strategy-wise is not too far off what normal people do, but his follow-ups, you know, those he does the Stargate opening, sure, but after he gets that third base, all bets are off. We've had the Colossus drop. Mind you, he flew a Prism with a Colossus in it to its death in the last game. He killed nothing, and he won. So, where is your god now? That's just casually addressed. You don't have to answer that question. There's a Stargate. So, still lining up with our typical expectations. Big airplay being made. And having that as a fallback is always nice. Just being able to, at any point, go back into that Stargate, particularly in the case of Mutalisks like that last game, it's always going to give you an edge. It's always going to be helpful. So, over here we've got the natural, just barely getting droned up here. DRG took the gas there, so he's just mining minerals in the main. He doesn't really have the gas to do anything big tech-wise. And at the same time, he's not pushing for his third base that fast either. So he just kind of wants to drone up, and there it is. Okay, I was going to say, it kind of seems like he has to get a lair. Because if you just went for hatchery tech against a Stargate opening, if you do like a Ravager push or something against someone with a Stargate, and if they get any whiff of it, you just make a Void Ray and collect your points. Or in this case, it's a semifinal. So, yeah, it's a little bit more than that, Nate. It's a little bit more. It's the rubber match of the semifinal. So there's literally more on the line than ladder points. But you get my point. All right, you get my point. What do you see, Oracle? There is a lair morphing. When will he become aware of it? Is he going to see it finish is kind of what I'm wondering. So now he knows. We've got 2 drone kills. Okay, not too shabby. Oh, did he see it finish? Did that change for him? Does he know? He should soon. I think the Adepts will go into the main and he'll get that vision. Just go by the lair. You can see it. Roach speed is on the way. Wait, is he gonna do that build he did versus Future, but against Protoss? Is that a thing? Do people do that? Revelation to clear the creep at the front of the base. I actually love that, because if he is going to do a big Roach push, then he'll want to take off from as far out as possible. So that means DRG needs to drop more creep tumors here. He only gets 1 though, and I think that's because he does have the third base on the way, but maybe he's thinking about transfuse energy. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm suddenly thinking he's going to do that same build in this matchup, but why not? Nah, he's not going to do it. Would have been nice, though. Man can dream. Did a gnarly Roach Queen drop in Future's main base to close out. Actually, they played Game 3 on this same exact map, now that I think about it. Now that Now that I spend any time at all thinking about this, I realize how strangely similar it is to Game 3 when he played versus a Terran, including the spawns. So here we have Roaches with speed, rolling up into the third. Couple probes go down. He's going to get the shield battery. But there's an Immortal, and we know Immortals are very good against Roaches. So DRG, he wanted to go out and try to do something with the Roaches. I think he still feels like he needs to generate value in some way by trading them out. But yeah, he's not doing too much. What is this Artosis pylon, though? Oh my god. That's... Anybody else see this? I think that's every single building, except for the Robo. Except the Robo and one gateway. Now that's what I call living on the edge. That terrifies me. That scares me. It scares me very much. Absolutely horrifies me. So the Overseer checks into the main base. Doesn't really see too much. He's able to check back out. It is a blink follow-up for Nightmare. We've seen in this series he's loved going into Resonating Glaive Adepts as his primary next level. But I don't think that he has to constrain himself to that. So I like that we're gonna have this Prism. I love that we're gonna have Prism, Robo Bay, and then with the Immortals, because it was a Roach-based opening, like you'd think, okay, he could punch through it with that techie army. But I think there's also kind of the Hydra transition you have to call into question because he's opening with range. You know he wants to defend. Without lurkers, without Hive, this can still be a really difficult situation to play out of. The Hydras themselves can trade nicely head to head, but if the Immortals vaporize the Roaches, then it just gets more and more difficult. He was kind of looking for a fourth base, but there isn't one. There's a Hive on the way, and he's just spending all of his money on Hydralisks. So I think that kind of scared Nightmare off. Nightmare's like, wait, you're on 3 bases, and I'm on 3 bases, and you're not? You're just going to give up the 4th base? And if you're a Protoss player, and the Zerg ever just very happily and willingly lets you shut down their expansion like that, you should probably keep in the back of your mind that they're just building units either to counterattack or to swallow your army when you overextend. So that kind of seemed like maybe the mission there. See, he could have gotten swarmed, and that may still happen. Okay, one Stalker dies, trades it for a Roach and a Ling. Nothing crazy. The Overseer comes here, sees double robotics facility going up. This was before the bug fix. So just in case you tune into this and you're like, is that the 10 range Colossus? Yes, it is. It is the 10 range Colossus. Why does your voice sound like that? I don't know. You should probably drink more water. Lots of Hydras though, and the Vipers. Lurker Den is not as much of a factor in this kind of game because it's so focused around power units, but maybe Nightmare waited a little too long, or maybe that opportunity just didn't show up. It seems impossible because DRG delayed his 4th base so he could get the Vipers out, and Nightmare wants to attack, but Vipers are very scary with this kind of army. So let's see what he can do. He's got his Colossi. They've got that 10 range. They can get those big pokes off against the rest of the Zerg army. But where are the Vipers? Does he have the ability to come in and abduct yet? He might have been consuming for energy earlier. Yeah, there they are. So we'll keep our eyes on these bad boys. They'll be trying to land some abducts. Yeah, they're already queued up. Oh, gets one of them. You can see he actually target fires down the other Viper very nicely. Wow, absolute shutdown. You see what a one-range difference makes? It's like I'm watching a competitively viable Protoss race. It's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. The Vipers were still kind of had the opportunity, but he pulled them back with just a tight enough window to get it done. That said, DRG does still have a big concave on the army, but the Immortals stand strong. Colossus getting microback still a little bit too far ahead. One gets popped, but Nightmare cruising ahead. 145 to 100 supply. There's just not that much left for DRG. No power units, no lurkers. GG, well played. Nightmare takes the 2-1 in an incredibly impressive series.